started. Michelle, if you can make sure everyone is muted, I would appreciate that. All right, so today is October 7th, 2025. Time is flying. Welcome everyone to the 12-Step Big Book Workshop. My name is Lisa and I am a long-term student of the 12 Steps Method of Recovery. My focus fellowships are CODA, Al-Anon, and OA. I am very glad you are here tonight and I hope everybody learns something wonderful. Please join me, while muted, in the set-aside prayer with a commitment to have an open mind, an open heart, and the gift of receiving it beyond our wildest dreams. God, please set aside everything that I think I know about myself, my unmanageability, and you as my source of power, so that I may have a new experience with myself, my life, my unmanageability, and especially you. So tonight we are crossing over into the second stage of the metaphorical rocket launch. The first stage was getting in the rocket and being willing to be taken to a place of freedom. Steps 1, 2, and 3 are referred to as the first stage, where we experience the desire for power. We experience the need for power and the decision for power and the commitment to turn to find that power. We are then confronted with the real work, which is the willingness to go to any length, that we will be taking certain steps because we have come out of a lockdown. We may still be in both the addiction and the unmanageability of whatever your addiction may be, but that's okay. No rules here. We focused on the first half of the first step to deeply comprehend it and to experience it, at least academically, as we remember our history. But the real point of step 1, from my standpoint, is a focus on unmanageability, which is the second half of the first step. Indeed, we are powerless over reality, ineffective in regard to running our lives on our own inferior power, and Bill calls it a spiritual arch with which we need to go under and go forward. And that's step 2 on page 47, if you're interested. Also on page 47, Bill introduces us to this concept, a metaphor which he carries on through step 5. As we go up the 12 steps, we are building a spiritual arch. Step 1 is the foundation, and step 2 is the cornerstone, placed on top of that foundation, with the cornerstone being willingness. Such a simple concept. We just need to be willing to give it a try. And in step 3, he continues his metaphor, talking about step 3 being the keystone, which is the stone that holds the entire arch together right up at the top. Oftentimes it's got a little bit of a, I forget what the name of that shape is, but kind of like a triangle. And then he talks about the spiritual arch again in step 5, and he asks us, are the stones in place? And we can assume that the cinder blocks of the arch are components of the 4th step, resentments. We're going to be looking deeply at resentment for the next few weeks. This is going to be the most powerful part of probably the whole workshop. And I really hope that if you're feeling like it's too much or you're struggling, that you give me a call or shoot me a text, and I really want to convince you to stick it out because it's so worth it in the end. So this is just an overview of sorts to give context as we enter into step 4, kind of broadly and generally. Then we will look specifically into the first component that Bill has us deal with in resentments, then fear, and then the sexual behaviors. These are the three categories Bill uses in the big book. We look at these three as they are the sources that creates the tensions in our lives and in ourselves that deliver us back to our habit for reducing tension and soothing us from ourselves through our addictions. That is the whole point of Bill's approach to this human behavioral problem, to show us the way in order to not go back into our addictions. Resentment, fear, and inappropriate sexual behavior create tension in us. Bill doesn't use any description of what sex means, but it is about unhealthy sex. Dishonesty and secrets are implied. He doesn't use the word secret, but he definitely implies it both in the fourth and fifth steps. So what is the point? The point is freedom from the addiction, the first half of step 1, and freedom from the unmanageability, the spiritual malady, the human condition, that is also the first half of the first step. I have emphasized that unmanageability is the human condition and therefore an underlying problem for addiction, because when we don't deal effectively with the human problem of unmanageability, or also known as our lives, we return to our addiction in full force. Bill is very clear on this in the 10th step. He says, we are placed in a position of neutrality. The first 9 steps deal effectively with our addiction. Recovered is the word that Bill uses throughout the big book, past tense. It's right on the title page. He talks about how thousands of men and women have recovered, but he also quickly says we are not cured. We merely have a daily reprieve as long as we pursue and embrace our new way of living and nurturing our spiritual condition. And he describes that as the proper use of the mind and will on page 85. The code Bill uses is 3 little words, way of life. That sentence refers to steps 10, 11, and 12. As long as on a daily basis, we reduce the tension when we are disturbed with step 10, we sit in the presence of power in the morning or whenever it is that we wake up and we start to plan our day. And we ask for and usually get guidance. We sit in prayer or meditation in the evening or whenever it is that we retire, and we do an inventory to see how we did with our 10th step, checking our character for defects as well as our contribution. And then in step 12, operating on the principles, our spiritual life is a life of principles. Our human life is a life of principles. Our civilized life is a life of principles. There's no escaping it. And one of those principles is altruism, such as how can I help others or another addict in my fellowship? But the biggest of philosophies is how can I contribute to humanity all around me? Not just in the fellowship, not just in addiction. We walk through this spiritual arch to a new freedom for all. You might remember this picture, the cartoon with lost Lisa being in chains and bondage of her own suffering. And if you look close, you'll see that the chains are not connected to anything in reality. She remains in bondage because she is the one unknowingly holding the chains, a victim of her own delusions. She is chained to her own fears for as long as she holds on to that ball and chain. It is illusional and delusional. Yes, this is true. But it is not factual. But it is true. And so we do a 4th step to identify those chains that we have wrapped around ourselves, that have taken our joy and freedom away. So step 4 made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. This may be more than you have heard before or more than you can absorb, understand, or even agree to at this point. If you have not done a 4th step before out of the big book, I would guess that you will not have seen at least a glimmer of the truth of what we have been saying. I'll give you a broader context. This is an interpretation of Bill's perspective, his underlying understanding of biology and psychology, as well as of addiction. And it should be really helpful for you to understand the structure of the fourth step. So who we are as human beings, we have had certain organic and biologically given gifts for survival at the very basic level. They are the instincts managed by our brainstem, which is that first of the three brains in us. We are looking at objective human structure and the evolution of human beings in order to really understand the full impact of the benefit of this tool of the fourth step. Our instinct for fight is a survival instinct. If we can't fight it, then we run, which is flight. Good Lord, we freeze or hide. That's another one. It's a survival instinct to camouflage or become a chameleon. If the environment is green, we become green. If the environment is blue, we become blue. The basics of survival is a wonderful insight to understanding our inventory and understanding ourselves. Fight, and certainly anger, are the reactions that come from instincts at the primal level of the limbic system. It's the second brain that all mammals have. A reaction to the survival threat of fighting creates the anger. And our dishonesty when we are hiding. Bill doesn't unpack it this way when trying to understand both the psychology and the biology in terms of what Bill would call instincts gone awry. But it is imperative for our understanding. Anger held for a period of time turns into resentment. A long period could be an hour or it could be 24 hours. It is no less or no more than that when you continue to be angry. After your initial reaction, you then have the resentment, and your instinct to fight leads to your reaction of anger, which leads you to your emotion of resentment. This is just animal stuff now in human beings. We have this chemical emotion and a memory that goes with it. So when we hold fear in, it then turns into anxiety. But anxiety is not a word that's used in the big book, so I will stay with the word fear to be consistent. But it will also mean anxiety. What do we do with dishonesty? Freezes the survival instinct of hiding. If I don't move, maybe they won't see me. The reaction of dishonesty in human beings is intentional dishonesty or unconscious dishonesty. Bill gives us the category of sex. We examine our past sexual conduct to identify specific actions that were selfish, dishonest, manipulative, or inconsiderate, and how those actions may have harmed others. This is what creates the false self. Bill doesn't use that term in the same way, but he does talk about the actor and the director in many different places in the big book. He uses the metaphor that we have the ability with our mind and our will to know and to make decisions, to identify the obstacles in ourselves, and then to identify that I am not any more than I am, but also not any less than I am. I'm actually just like everybody else, and the richness of this workshop is that you will hear it reinforced and confirmed from everybody in here who does the work and who shares it. We are all in the same boat. It is an amazing experience that we are all so similar, so much the same, but we are unique. The fourth step identifies the masks that we wear. Over the time that is spent addressing the fourth step and all of its components, we will eliminate the mask, and over time of doing the step work, Not just step 4, but 5 through 9, which is the completion of the removal of the false mask, that Hollywood storefront. The mask and the persona we developed in our family's culture, whatever that means to you. It may not be a biological family, but wherever it is or was, the culture's the same. I grew up in my family culture determined my reactions to my life. But also my emotions and the experiences I had. It determined a whole bunch of the components of the Hollywood storefront, that false self. My education and my psychological, emotional reactions, the information I got from the people around me, the schools I attended, the neighborhood I lived in, the people who were my social group, they were all an influence. This last little cutie is the core of goodness. This is the true self. Some refer to it as the human spirit, and some people call it the soul. The Buddhists call it the original face. The Christians and the Jews talk about the image and likeness of God. The New Age people speak of it as the spark of the divine. And what they are all collectively talking about is our true self that has been covered up layer after layer after layer so that we don't even know who we are. We don't even recognize it. And the whole point of step 4 is to unpack those layers so that we can, in fact, finally come up with who we are. In the big book, Bill asks us to identify and analyze our self-centeredness. He says on page 62, selfishness, self-centeredness is the root of our problems. Selfishness and self-centeredness is the root, but the fruit of the root is our survival instinct of fight, translated into resentments, as we talked about earlier, or our fears, or our sexual behaviors. These are the 3 components of the step 4 inventory, and we'll add another one to include guilt and sex. Words that are not in the big book in the same way that we use in our culture today. But it wouldn't be complete without adding guilt and shame. Herb will have some special instructions at the end of step 4 from his experience and knowledge of having done these, and also 5th steps with many, many people, so that people are prepared to bring their 4th step to what I consider to be a really nice and tidy conclusion by overturning all the rocks, opening all the closed doors, shining the light into all of the darkness to the best of our ability. Bill uses a very different model in step 4 in the 12 and 12. He also uses the 7 capital sins. The 12 and 12 was published in 1953. Bill had already been under the mentorship of a Catholic priest, Father Ed Dowling, since 1940. This is pretty clear evidence of it. This is a Catholic schema of the sources of the problems of human nature. We are looking at this because it's in the 12 and 12 in chapter 4. It's not a model that I would personally use, as I'm not a believer of sin, so I don't have much experience using this, but it is pointed out as a recommended step in the 12 and 12 as a supplemental commentary of the steps from Bill W. So take it or leave it, whatever suits you. So now back to the book on page 63. Bill says, next we launched out on a course of vigorous action. The first step of which is a personal house cleaning. After the 3rd step, we are launching. So he is still using the rocket launch metaphor on a course of vigorous action. Not just action, but vigorous action. With the first step of that vigorous action being a personal house cleaning. Step 4 is only a component of the entire course, Bill says on page 64, which many of us had never attempted. Not changing our thoughts, attitude, and feelings, and especially our behavior, keeps us operating in the same careless, insensitive way that we have been operating in since we've been using. Bill uses words very carefully, describing step 4 as a vital crossroads. Step 4 is really significant. It is life-changing when done with a healthy interpretation. Not done the right way. Well, no, there is no wrong or right way to do the 4th step. No wrong way at all, because you are going to get something out of it. Absolutely. Could be small, could be large, but you're going to get something. At the very least, we are going to take action in the right direction. And Bill says, in agreement, though our decision is vital and crucial, step 3 could have little permanent effect. Bill means it might have a temporary effect, but it won't have any permanent lasting effect unless that once followed by a strenuous effort. A strenuous effort. Hear the words again, how Bill gives it a jackhammer effect. To know and to be rid of, meaning to face and take action. Remember, we saw the concept of what makes us specifically human? We discussed that when we did step 1, regarding the mind and the will, this is a dominant rhythm that Bill uses in each of the steps, actually in all of the steps. All of the even steps are naming steps. All of the odd steps are the decision and action steps. We identify the false self, the mask that we wear, and through a process, it is removed. We don't remove it. Step 6 and 7 are very clear about that. We are powerless to deal with it, but we are invited through willingness to take action to connect to a higher power that will in fact create the transformation, that spiritual awakening, that change in the way we think, feel, and behave. This is done to us, not by us, but not without us. Bill says to face and to be rid of the things in ourselves which had been blocking us. Well, blocking us from what? What does Bill mean here? Blocking us from power, that power that is deep inside of us. That is available to us. That isn't us, but is available to us. These are the implications of step 1 through 3. So Bill says our liquor or our whatever your addiction is, whether it's a substance, process, or whatever, is but a symptom. We have been echoing this in our workshop. Yes, addiction is a problem, but it is not the problem. Bill just said it right there. Liquor is but a symptom of the problem. So we have to get down to the causes and conditions. This is Bill's invitation to go forward. Bill gives us all of the instructions to analyze and get down to the causes and conditions. This is why the slide on instincts, reactions, and emotions was so important, because it gets underneath to the underneath of the basic biology. Bill says, therefore, we started out on a personal inventory. This is step 4. A business which takes no regular inventory usually goes broke. So this is Bill's business metaphor. He is a salesman. He wants to motivate us. What is the benefit to me in doing all of this work that he has given us? Well, like a business inventory, it is a fact-finding and fact-facing mission. Mind and will, fact-finding, and I want to know what the facts are, fact-facing. I want to do something about it. I want to accept it. It is an effort to discover the truth. This is not about beating ourselves up. This is not negative, nor is it about shame and guilt. No, none of that. It is just the truth. Plain and simple. Teresa Vivalla said humility is truth. It is a perspective. One objective is to disclose the damaged or unsellable goods to get rid of them, promptly and without regret. If the owner of the business is to be successful, he cannot fool himself about values. He cannot be delusional. When you look at the words Bill uses, personal inventory includes causes and conditions, fact-finding and fact-facing. It's an effort to discover the truth, to get rid of the damaged goods, and to identify what our values are. It's going to be a very rigorous course in basic psychology, experienced right out of the big book. Bill says, first we searched out the flaws in our makeup, which had caused our failure. Well, that's not a new concept for us. On our journey these last few months, we've seen that. And on page 62, he says, so our troubles of our own making, not circumstances, but people, but our reactions to circumstances and people. Being convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. We considered its common manifestations. Resentment is the number one offender. Being convinced that self manifested in various ways is the root, instincts are the fruit. When we do the column work, we search out the flaws of our makeup, which caused our failure, not people, places, and things, but our reaction to them. We are convinced that self manifested in various ways was what had defeated us. Bill then goes on to explain what his thinking is, saying that from this resentment stem all forms of spiritual disease, from unmanageability to spiritual malady. For we have been not only mentally and physically ill, we have been spiritually sick. Second half of the first step, unmanageability. And then this sentence, which confirms everything we have been learning. When the spiritual malady is overcome, unmanageability, the spiritual malady, we straighten out mentally and physically. We are not cured of our unmanageability, our spiritual malady. We have a daily reprieve contingent on leading our way of life. And if we do, that spiritual malady will be contained. We live in a flow within us behind a spiritual shield that protects us from the obsession that will take us back to the relapse in dealing with resentments. So we set them to paper. Bill isn't going to just say, you need to discuss this with somebody. He is going to make it very clear in each component of the step 4 inventory, the resentment and the fear and the sex. He's going to confirm that this is writing about stuff and dealing with resentments. We set them on paper. We listed people, institutions, or principles. So we are at the beginning of making our lists. I did send home with the email a copy of the grudge list if you had time to fill that in or whatever. There's plenty of time, but I did send that out in case you haven't checked your emails. So we are at the beginning of making our lists of the resentments that we're aware of. And it's not a memory of a resentment. That's not what we're doing. That's not what we're doing. And it is not looking back at a prior inventory to see what is on our list. The point is for us to search our souls, feelings, awareness, and consciousness. We don't want to do some of the things that we've already done, because a lot of us have done this before. So what anger do I have right now? What resentment do I have? What irritation or annoyance do I have? Here are 2 little words that might help you figure out your resentments. Who annoys you and who irritates you? I am always human, and we are all always human. So there will always be mosquitoes in our lives. those small little bites that annoy us like heck. But those aren't the bites we're after here. I encourage you to list the shark bites, the 4,000 pound per square inch bites. It could be childhood trauma, abusive behavior for a loved one, an ex's infidelity, and so many more on this scale. We're not looking at mosquito bites right now, unless that is really your only place to go. And you're at that point in your spiritual development. But we want to keep it to the shark bites, the big kahunas. And remember, we are not talking about a memory. For instance, I am here decades later, and I can discuss my rage towards my mother because I have a memory of it all, and I can describe it in emotional terms. But I have no emotions over it. I have feelings, I have memory, but not the feelings about that. There has been a process of giving me freedom, which I will introduce to you at another time. In terms of the way Bill lays it out, we're going to be very true to the big book with some expansion. The people category is pretty obvious. Most of our resentments are to deal with people, especially the ones close to us. Family members, parents, siblings, and especially partners, present or past. But again, I need to emphasize that this is not about a memory of a resentment. This is about a current feeling. It may have happened yesterday or it may have happened decades ago, but do you still have a clenched jaw or fist or pit in your stomach when you think about that person or hear their name? God forbid they walked in the room right now and you were surprised. What would your reaction look like? I thought I had resolved my big resentments, but what I found was there were bigger ones buried under the smaller ones that would be harder to tackle. And it was difficult, but it was the way my processing ensued. Some, when they get the concept, open up a floodgate and their lists become very long. Lots of people to write about. Then there's institutions such as the IRS, the military, government offices, or even our local church or religion, or perhaps the opposite of your political party. So this is going to be hardcore, deep, visceral, Mount Vesuvius, volcanic, hot rage or anger. That's the stuff I'm tempting you to take a look at. A lot of people say, oh boy, I just don't want to open those scars up again. They have been sewn up, closed, they are history, and I want to be moving forward, which is great, except there's pus in that wound. Those scars won't heal if there is resentment. And they just don't want to know about it. And if you saw your doctor and he said to you, that lump looks like it could be cancerous, but I won't know until I do a biopsy, would you say, yeah, no, let's not do that because I'm afraid of the results? But if you don't get the biopsy, you won't know. If you don't know it is cancer, you will die. Not facing the truth will eventually kill us in that situation. Bill calls it the cancer of the soul that requires soul surgery. So somewhere around 10 or 20 names to begin with is about the right amount. Take a look at your list and check it. Do you need to modify it? Do you need to go back and pick the ones that are substantive for you by your standards, meaning somewhere between 10 and 20? If you don't have that many, don't make them up to get to the 10. But if you have that many or more than 20, just do the top 20. That will do for column 1 because that is the way Herb has taught me to do it. You'll realize that eventually you can replace any name or circumstance in the dynamic, and it's all the same because the central actor in every play is you. And there aren't many variations on you. So this is a resentment sheet that gives you the corresponding big book pages to give some explanation. So whether you're you're addressing a man, woman, recent incident, or an incident 25 years old, or maybe 5 minutes ago, the dynamic will be the same because it comes out of your reaction to people and circumstances. Don't dismiss anything and don't gloss over anything. And we certainly don't want to be superficial. Work with your sponsor or a step guide to gain guidance with regard to substance and the numbers regarding the minimum and maximum. But for this workshop, 10 to 20 is plenty. If you can only come up with 5, we could work with that too, and you could have a powerful experience with those 5, as long as they are authentic resentments and or an anger issue for you. With 10 to 20, we will have enough repetitiveness to confirm our insights. This work is the reason I gave you a participant agreement. It can create suffering, embarrassment, and in some instances, it might create a need to call a therapist. But I'm totally confident that some of you will have that reaction to it. If it becomes destructive to you to enter into the trauma, then you need to deal with a professional and stop the work. Herein lies the importance of a sponsor that you have confidence in to guide you with what we are going to do here. This is the reason for the small group and step guides list that went around. If you need to get on that list, email me your info and I can add you to it. This is the part in the workshop when the help of your peers is really going to help, because this work, as successful and freedom-based that it is, can be very difficult, confusing, and an extra set of eyes or ears is really helpful to get you through the process. Bill says, we asked ourselves why we were angry. In most cases, it was found that our self-esteem, our pocketbooks or ambitions, our personal relations, including sex, were hurt or threatened. So we were sore. We were burned up. So this is the second column, as you can see on the screen. And looking at page 65, there is a column there titled, I'm resentful at. That's the first column. And the page says Mr. Brown. So Mr. Brown comes under that, who I'm resentful at. So we're calling this is going to be called column 1. They're not numbered in the book this way, so I added it to my sheets. Next to that is the cause, which we're calling column 2. Next to that is column 3. With this explanation, you will understand as we talk about the columns. Just put the facts in when you fill out the columns. My employer, my wife, just facts. But here it gets more important, and this is the point under the second column. This is not therapy. This is not catharsis. This is not journaling. No, this is a focused effort to identify the facts, the truth, as Bill has laid it out. So take a look at Mr. Brown, because Mr. Brown's attention to my wife, how succinct is that? There is very little emotion there other than the obvious anger, and then there is the next item below that. He told my wife of my mistress. Dang, I am so angry. And then there is underneath that, and Mr. Brown may get my job at the office. This guy is coming at him on all scores. But notice the point is the succinctness of it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 words in the third item. So this is not a long discussion of the trials and travails of being a victim. This is a snapshot, a capturing succinctly of why he's angry. They betrayed me and they hurt me. That's it. That's all you need. No great big explanation. Very simple. They betrayed me and they hurt me. The more specific you can be, the better the work that you do will be. On here, it says, his attention to my wife told my wife of my mistress. may get my job at the office. Those are all very laser focused specific reasons. And this is how your sheet should look. If you need to get an extra sheet of paper to continue the column that you were in, you're putting too much in there. You're getting back into the story, and we're not writing stories, we're solving problems. So make sure, keep it to a minimum. In this case, it's actually less is more. So if you're looking at your books, you can put next to his attention and next to told my wife, put a B next to Brown, maybe get my job, put a C, because that is the language we will see going forward. So column 1 has the numbers, column 2 has the letters, and when you are going to do the work with the worksheets that I have revised, and you should have gotten them in the email, you can make copies of them. So if you have 20 resentments on your grudge list, you're probably going to need 20 or more copies. And I suggest that you copy them as you need them, but your material is going to add up, especially if you separate worksheets for each column, which I don't recommend, but some people do that. They'll just use column 1 on a page, just use column 2 on a page, and then 3. But I like to see 1, 2, 3 together. I want to see the whole picture. But it's up to you guys if you have a ton of paper and you want to use it. So I'm going to end the PowerPoint here because I do want to go over the sheets with you guys. If you have your sheets in front of you, or you have a copy or the email, or you don't and you have your book, that will work too. Like I said, this is a little different than Herb's sheets, not by a lot, but I just tweaked them a little bit to, I think, make them a little more user-friendly. Let me see if I can share this screen. Screen. All right. So here we have the sheets. This is column 1, 2, and 3. Can also be known as column 3. Actually, it is all 3, but it's called column 3 usually. So I went ahead and filled this in to give you a live sample of how the process works. And it starts with resentment worksheet. Everybody, I suggest you do a set-aside prayer before you start this work. Use your own prayer, use the standard one, whatever it takes, but you want to get in that right state of mind. And so number 1 is, I would take number 1 off of my grudge sheet that I sent you. And I'm going to be using somebody called Drew. So I resent Drew, and number 2, second column, for lying and manipulating me to their ego needs. And then number 3 is, when this event happened, how did it hurt, threaten, or interfere with, number 1, my self-esteem? So we want to ask ourselves when we get to self-esteem, what is my deep belief about who I am? And Herb says, when you describe yourself, you want to make it sound like you are the most fantastic human being on the planet. We really want to stroke that ego and make it really big. So I wrote, I am an open and honest, kind, accepting wife who handles the truth, whether good or bad, with grace. And then the next column, the third column, is, what is my fear about the answer I just gave, which is, what is my deep belief about myself? So my fear is that I am not worthy of hearing the truth, or that I'm not able to handle the truth. So if you can see, they go along with each other. And anybody that needs to ask a question, please ask as we go along, because it's probably easier, but just let me know. So there's the first one. That's all about my self-esteem, right across the column, across the row. So then number 2, we go to my pride. So now still I'm keeping in mind this person Drew for lying and manipulating. This is how I want people watching to see me being treated as by Drew. So this is another fantasy type of one. I could be standing on a stage, or I could be in a courtroom, or I could be in a wedding, whatever it is. And I want others to see Drew treating me as a cherished, loved, respected, supported, deserving, strong woman and loving wife. So that's, again, a little bit of an inflation, but honestly, isn't that what we would all really want if we could have, the ultimate? But that's where we want to take this. We want to take it to that ultimate place. And then my fear about number 2 is I'm afraid others will actually see the effect that the lying has had on my psyche, and that I am oppressed by a lying addict. So that is part of the pride, the number 2, that's my pride. So then we go down to my ambition. And what would I like to see happening instead? What would I like to see instead of Drew lying and manipulating? What would be the preference here? Well, I would want Drew to treat me like I am the most wonderful, important, and respected person in his life, and obviously not lie to me. But my fear is I'm afraid Drew will never stop lying and treating me as unworthy of the truth. And you can see that would be a real fear. You're in a relationship with somebody who can't stop manipulating and lying. Well, my fear is that that's going to continue. It's not ever going to end. So then number 4 is my security. What would it take for me to be okay with or in this situation? Well, I would need Drew to stop being a liar, speak the truth to me, and respect me. Well, why do I need that to be okay? Well, I need this so that I feel safe and protected in my relationship with him. And then we go over to the next column, which is I am afraid I will have to walk away because he is an addict. An addict's lie, and I can't do this forever. So that fear is how it affects my security around this relationship. Number 5 is personal relationships. How do I expect this relationship should be? And you think about your ideals, what an ideal relationship would look like. So I used husband. Husbands should be open and honest and communicate the truth as much as possible. I'm not even asking for 100%. Just get it up high as I can. But my fear is I'm afraid I will not stay in the marriage because the lying is such a huge burden. So even though this is a personal relationship and it's a husband, the fear is that I'm just going to walk away. Gender relations. What are my beliefs and/or about men or women in the roles they play? So in this answer, I'm going to pick a male because I'm talking about Drew. So I expect an ideal man or woman, meaning a man, ideal men should be courageous enough to speak the truth, no matter what the consequences, and I expect them to address their addictions related to the lying. So that's an ideal. In a perfect world, that's what I would really like. I'd like to see that really for everybody. But my fear is I'm afraid he will never be the man I need or live up to some basic concepts that make a marriage work, such as honesty. So that's my fear, that we won't be able to overcome the dishonesty. Then the last one is called pocketbook, which it's in the big book as pocketbook. And I would love to change it because it confuses more people than not. So pocketbook just means, what is the cost involved in this resentment, this lying and manipulating husband? What areas are impacted from this behavior that I resent so much? And there's a few here, like financial security, emotional security, material security, well-being, spirituality, relationship. We go over to the middle column and it says, nothing should interfere with or lessen the value of my relationship with my husband as far as honesty goes. So nothing should lessen the value of my emotional security, my well-being, my spirituality, relationships, my bank account, due to the insecurity of not knowing the truth when it affects my every being, my every fiber. And my fear is these behaviors will permanently damage me, and I won't be with someone who is open and honest with me. So that's the conclusion of the first sheet of the 2 sheets. It's 2 pages. And I'm not going to go on to the next page because I really want you guys to, take time and look at the 3rd column and get really used to it. There's always time to go into the next column. So, and they do somewhat work together. Go ahead, Joel.
So my question involves, how do we doctor this sheet for each person that we're going to review in it? Do I take white out on this sheet and
no,
get rid of Drew and get rid of his thing and get rid of everything that's in column 2 and column 3?
No. Start with... This is for you to keep, so that if you're doing your own at home, because you're going to do your own at home, we're going to come in and share them, but you're going to do them at home. This is for you to look at as an example, so that if you get stuck, it'll kind of get you back on track. Okay. I'm going to send you the blanks.
Oh, okay.
Wherever you see purple, it'll be blank, so you can put your own answers in.
Okay.
And I do suggest using the sheets because it's definitely easier to stay on track, but it's also limited. It's going to keep you from thinking, I gotta write a book about this, because we don't want to get into the book writing.
So is the blanks these 4th step inventory resentments, my grudge list thing that you sent us?
Yeah. So the grudge list is, come up with 10 or 20 people that when you think about them, your blood curdles.
Yeah, but on this grudge list, you can't really get into the same kind of in-depth reasoning that you get into on the step 4 resentment worksheet.
Right.
So it's like you can only put down like a little tiny bit about each one of these people,
yep,
rather than really getting into the nitty-gritty about why you're disturbed by them.
Exactly. That's exactly how I want you to do it. The grudge list is just a list of names of people that you did. Some people are going to go right on that list real fast. And then some others you might not think about until maybe tomorrow, and you have a phone call from them or a text and you're like, oh my God, yeah, this is one of them. So the grudge list is just to get your list going. I want you guys to look at the 3rd column sheet that's up on the screen that I sent you home with, to just kind of familiarize yourself with it and see, what jumps out at you, what doesn't. Are you understanding what I've put in there for answers and how it works? Because like I said, this is the key to the castle. The 4th step is the key. And if you guys can do this the best way possible, which is I'm trying to get you to do, you're going to get the best bang for your buck, basically. So just do the grudge sheet, familiarize yourself with this column 3. If you feel like, I think I want to try to give it a shot, go ahead. It's not going to hurt anything. Absolutely not. Because if you do it wrong, we're going to explain how to do it right. No big deal. You might get it right.
Lisa, I remember that when we did it before, somebody created an Excel spreadsheet that moved.
Yep.
And you could, and I think that, Joel, that would answer your question if you wanted to do it on a laptop or something, and it created the space. So if you needed more space for somebody, it just moved the lines down. And
Or I
that
could
I
just,
found that real helpful.
I'm not good with that kind of stuff, but I could create I could create like a spreadsheet on a piece of paper and just make
Yeah.
copies of it
Well,
and just
don't
write in things for the people.
don't do anything yet because I'm going to try to make an interactive one so that you don't even have to use paper. We'll just do an interactive and you can print it out.
Excuse me.
Okay.
So don't worry about that yet. Like I said, you don't even have to fill this in yet. I'm just giving it to you to get you familiar because this is where we're headed, and I really want you to be comfortable with where we're headed so that you're not stumbling over the concepts of the sheet and more focusing on the people that you resent. You're still confused, Joel.
No. I'm fine with it.
Good.
I'm
Okay.
just figuring out how I want to do it for myself.
Okay. Okay. So Joel, at least start with the grudge sheet. Get your people on there.
I got my people in right in here.
See that? And then play with this if you want. Go ahead and play with it, but don't go beyond it. Don't try to do this and then do a fourth column. Stay
Okay.
with the third column. There is a method to the madness that I have this going at, and it will be more helpful if you do it in the right steps.
Okay.
All right. So if you're anxious to go ahead with 3, but don't jump ahead to column 4. Dee Dee, do you have a question?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Lisa. I have this keen awareness that I think I'm at the top of my grudge list. Is that is that appropriate?
It's very common, but we tend to ask you to not do yourself first because doing the self requires a different mindset, and a lot of people do themselves in a negative way, and we're really trying not to do that. We really want you to get your other resentments out of the way, and then we'll tackle doing the self. But it literally is like completely different way to do things. And until you've done a few of these resentments and really understand how the process works, I don't think it's a good idea to do yourself.
Roger that. Thanks.
Okay. Go ahead, Annette.
Lisa, I love this sheet. It's wonderful. I have a question, something I don't really understand. In the column where it says 3, my ambition, what would I like to see happening instead of lying and manipulating me to their ego needs? I don't understand exactly what my ambition means. I wondered if you could explain that a little bit more.
Yeah, so what that means is in a perfect world, I have the desire to have things work out a certain way. And I'm ambitious enough to believe that Drew can treat me like I'm the most wonderful, important, and respected person in his life. That's an ambitious idea. it's at the top, but I'm going to throw it out there because I feel like being ambitious. So it's an over-the-top request, but it's not completely out of the realm of reality.
Okay, so it would be my personal ambition and it would be what I want to see happening instead of what is happening.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Yep.
All right. Go ahead, Susan.
Hey, I'm a little confused.
Okay.
So these 3 columns on this sheet are all for column 3, and within it they have 1, 2, and 3 columns.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because
And yeah,
it's actually the far left column is column 1. The one in the middle that's a little bigger is 2, and the far end is 3. But for some reason we call it column 3. I don't
so
know.
this, yeah, so column 3 has 3 columns in
Yes.
this sheet. Okay. And
Yes.
then, okay, I'm looking at, whoops, trying to get to my screenshots. There we go. So the first sheet I see for all of this is the grudge list.
Yep.
And that's got some columns.
Which
But
you don't have to worry about. You don't have to worry about those on there.
Okay, so just list the people. Don't worry about all those columns. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have.
And then there was a sheet of paper on a brown background that has column 1, 2, 3. And then another sheet of paper looks like the same one, but it's on a blue background. So my
that's
first
column
question, are
4.
those two the same sheets?
No, the
No.
blue one is column 4.
Oh.
Yeah. So
And what's the brown one?
A two sheet exercise.
So the brown one is column 1, 2, and 3, and the blue one is column 4, even though it says column 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I don't know what you're looking at, but I think so. So what I sent out on the email was the grudge list, column 3 and column 4.
Okay, so I should look at that.
Yeah.
And it'll be labeled what it is.
Yes. So, and also you guys, you can read pages 65 and 66 where Bill talks about the column work. He doesn't go into it in very deep detail, but he does, offer some information. And you can always reach out to me if you're stuck on something. But like I said, you don't have to do anything with them yet. I really just wanted to give you some explanation about what they are before I throw them at you and say, okay, now let's do this work. It's just to see where we're headed and to get an idea of how it works before we actually throw ourselves into it.
Okay, right before this one that you're showing us, that's when there's the slides. There's a slide, looks like the same sheet, column 1, 2, 3. It's white and it's on a blue background. Secondly, and firstly, it's on a brown
This
background.
one here?
Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, that one.
All right, so
what is that?
That's just the book. I just took what's in the book.
Oh, so we're not using this. This is straight
That's
from the
just
book.
to show you what's from the book on a more
Because
regulated scale.
Because in the book they only mention 3 columns.
Yes.
Right? Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So that was just okay, cool.
Yes.
I was like,
Yeah. So our version is an expanded version of Bill's, and I just changed Herb's a little bit too because I felt like it needed better verbiage to understand the process. And I think it does. If let me see, if somebody says, "Oh no, it doesn't help," I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. So here's the grudge list. You just put your people. You can check off anything you want, and you can even put why you're angry because it's going to help you when we get to the real deal.
oh, okay.
So I'm not going to tell you not to do it. I'm just saying if you're not sure, I don't want you to do it because I don't want you to do it wrong, and then we have to fix it so that you understand how to do it right because it's harder to unlearn it than it is to just learn it.
Cool. And then the next 2 different slides are the same sheet, but it's just an example of putting into columns what the big book says.
Yes. And if you look at the grudge list, see it says big book 65 too.
Mm-hmm.
That's page 65, second paragraph. So anything that you want here that's confusing, it gives you the book page that you can go right to it to get some information. But like I said, Bill doesn't go into detail like we're going to, which is why this works so well. It's really the depth that we take it to that really makes the difference. And then this is the fourth column. I don't know if I sent this out or not, but
okay, that's good to see what that looks like.
This is what it looks like, and I don't want to bog you guys down too much with the information, but so when we go from the 3rd column into the 4th column, and the 4th column it's not the same as what's on the 3rd, but it's similar. But on the 4th column, we're going to get our answers, which is why the 4th column is so important. It's really, but it builds from 1, 2, and 3, and it ends up at 4. And when you guys really get this, and I might, if people are struggling, I'll do an extra night where we just work on these sheets. So that we can answer people's questions because I really want you to get this because this is really the nuts and bolts of your freedom. It's just phenomenal information that you're going to derive out of this. So, you know, absolutely, if you guys struggle, I'm not going to be like, well, you know, call a friend. I'll do an extra night where we just go over all our questions. And it really helps, which is why I did this with the Drew person, when you have it set up so that you hear it as a whole piece, not just throw an answer here, throw an answer there. When I talked about Drew and his lying and dishonesty thing, it kind of can help you see maybe the person that you're going to work through. And with the Drew person, you can see how it all is cohesive, so to speak. It's about him. It's about a character. It might be my ex-husband, but I can't remember.
Because you've worked through it.
Yeah, I'm still working through it. So if people have questions about this, absolutely don't get like, oh my God, I can't do this. It's too much. It looks like a lot. And in essence, it is a lot, but it's not as hard as it looks. It's actually when it starts flowing and you get the concept, you'll start punching these out like crazy. Yeah. And everyone you get rid of is another notch on your belt to say, okay, I feel that much better about my life, myself, where I'm headed, where I've been, all of it. It's the magic of the program. And like I said, when I was doing the PowerPoint, that there's some people, it's too heavy for them. They don't want to look at their life that deeply. They thought they did. And then they get here and they go, wait a minute. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to see my part. I don't want to understand that. And they usually just don't come back. And that's okay. I hope nobody does that because of how much you're going to get out of it. Go ahead, Carol.
Hi, Lisa. Hi, everybody. Lisa, I just wanted to tell you that I have done my sheets and it gave me great relief to do them. I have an identical twin sister. I have huge resentment toward her. And I did 3 sheets on her. Wow. And I only hope that I did them correctly. I think I did because I really felt much, much relieved after I finished the sheet. I did go to the column 4 because I've done this before.
Nice.
So I can't wait to share it with you, and I hope that I did it right.
That's fantastic. Yeah, the shares are really going to help each other because when you hear people's stories and they fit into this form and you see it almost take on a life of its own, it really helps with what we're doing here.
And it really is freedom. I mean, it doesn't go, my resentment does not go away completely, but oh my gosh, I just have so much more insight.
Sometimes, Carol, what happens is if it's a big person in our life, like say maybe a mom or a dad or whatever, we could have different resentments toward the person. Like we might have one person that has 3 separate resentments. So what we would do at first is pick the most severe resentment and work on that one. But just because we do a resentment on a person doesn't mean that we're done with that person. That means there could be other resentments that come up. Or sometimes, this is a peeling the onion kind of situation again. We uncover some of our resentments and we find more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, there's no set. I mean, I once worked with somebody that had 500 resentments towards people.
Wow.
500. And I'm like, Facebook doesn't count. We don't do Facebook people. But yeah, I mean, we like it said, we don't want to do the little mosquito bites that are just a pain. We want to do those great big honking shark bites that sometimes put us right over the edge.
Yeah. Well,
we want to regain.
That's why I did it on my sister.
I'm sure. And you said you did 3 on her, right?
I did.
Okay, so there's prime example of, you can do somebody, but in 3 separate
instances, 3 separate, well, the resentments were probably similar. I'm sure that, they were similar, but yeah.
Nice. I can't wait to hear them. Yay.
I can't wait to share it with you.
We'll all be sharing them.
Yep,
All right. Thank you, Carol.
thank you.
So does anyone else have any questions or
Yeah,
concerns?
I do again.
Go ahead,
So
Susan.
will we be sharing these next week?
Um,
Or how
no,
does it
because
work?
as of next week, you don't have to have had them done yet.
Ah,
You know, I'm sending them home so you can get comfortable with it and
that
add
sounds
some
good.
information. And I don't want to, stress anybody out. Oh my God, I got to do that. You don't have to do it yet, but definitely look at it. Look at the book. See how it helps you. Maybe read those couple of pages about it, and just don't be afraid of it. Just go ahead and play around with it like you have a new phone or something.
And at some point, we will have one of these weeks will be for sharing them.
Yes, I'm
Okay.
obviously not going to tell anybody they have to share. It would be great
Right.
if people
That
would
we
share.
could. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, even for maybe some of the people that feel a little uncomfortable, doing speaking in public, so to speak. This is at least you're reading the information. It's not like off the
Yeah.
cuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really helps when you hear other people do it. And of course, while people are doing it, I am going to correct people so that we make sure that they're on the right track. I don't want people to think,
Mm-hmm.
oh, this is right, and it's blatantly wrong. I will definitely point things out so that people are putting the right answers in and getting the best out of it.
I had a wild thing happen today. I was just meeting with my sister and my elderly father. And then as soon as that ended, I jumped on and I was 10 minutes late. And in this meeting, I got the hugest betrayal, lying, manipulation, and dishonesty. And what was that other thing? Yeah, lying, manipulation, dishonesty, and betrayal. I guess lying and dishonesty are the same. From her, she did something, and I am fuming. I mean, I can't remember the last time I felt like this. And I just couldn't believe that I came on and there you were. Then you started that resentment of Drew, and like it's pretty much, other than the obvious differences. I was like, yes, that's it. That's it. That's it. So, I mean, I guess there are just no coincidences because I'm blown away.
Not in
I
my
didn't know
life. Yeah, not in
to
my
do
life.
with this.
Yeah,
I'm
everything in my
fuming.
life works that way. So if you guys
Yeah.
live my life now, that's how things are going to go. So
Yeah. And it's like, maybe I'll do it on my own after, like get it from the email and work on it now, or at the very least to have gone through some of it through
right,
you with
right,
Drew, and knowing that I have this tool, you know, I don't, I will do it, with you guys.
yeah,
And
absolutely, and
God's given me the perfect, thing to work with, the perfect
absolutely,
material. Oh,
absolutely, yeah, and you're going to feel so much better,
mm,
so much better.
okay.
It's amazing.
Thank
Lisa,
you.
just real quick on the slide before this, the one with the third column, do I see some definitions over on the right or one of these pages? I thought I saw a piece of paper over to the right of the chart.
One of them is
Not that.
the
Yeah, what
definitions
is
of
that?
it's the definitions of resentments.
Oh, because I
Yeah,
don't think we received that.
I can send that. I'll email it out to everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks for pointing that
Oh,
out.
yeah. That would be great. Thank
Yep.
you.
Yeah, every little bit helps. And all my people out there that are control freaks and all that, this is great work for you guys because you really go far with it. Mark.
Yeah, I had a couple questions. So one question that I really sort of like had is that I actually have overlap with another major like step 4 and 5 I did. So to be honest, I don't have a lot of names. I mean, I could stretch it out, but I don't really know that I have like 10 people.
No.
So I'm not sure. So I, like to be honest, like over the last like 4 days, or really like the last 7 days, I was just thinking about that a lot because I just I'm finishing up like a major, like 5, like right now. So I don't know that I have like a gang of names.
All right, which we don't want you to make stuff up. It's, life has got enough stuff to deliver. But what you might want to do is maybe take one of the really big ones that you might have done already and put it in the new worksheet and see if you get a little bit different answer. Just, play with it a little bit. But come with whatever you have. That's all you can do. It is what it is, and that's fine.
Okay, and I had another quick question. So, because I heard like you said to share them, right?
Yeah.
So I'm assuming though you're not asking us to do our 5 in the session, right? Like,
Oh no.
okay, yeah, I just wanted to double check because I wasn't clear. Yeah, okay.
No. And the purpose of the sharing is to help the people in the group who might be doing this for the first time, or maybe even just a second time. And then there's going to be people in the group that have done it maybe a dozen times even. If you do the 12 steps and you're constantly doing them, sooner or later you're gonna double up on this. Rochelle, how many times have you done a 4th step?
Oh my God. Probably 6 or 8 times.
Yeah, perfect.
But new stuff comes up. And
yeah, sometimes it's not even new people, it's just new things about people you've already done even.
Well, also, I was thinking I've been doing this for 40 something years and I'm old. So now some of my resentments are the way institutions respond to older people. And I get pissed off about that. And I didn't have that before. Older people just irritated me. Now I'm the old person and, be in places where I walk with a cane where I can't get up the sidewalk and things like that. I never thought about that before. So I think we change and we're older.
Yep.
And our resentments change.
Yep. Which is exactly why we do a continuum of the steps, because life changes.
Right.
And we need the guidance. It's just a fact. Thanks, Rochelle. Nancy.
Hello.
Hi, Nancy.
Thanks, Lisa. So I just would like a little clarification. You are sending us a worksheet without the answers on it, right?
So I sent the one
So
with
that
the answers,
so
like what you saw on the screen.
yeah. But are you sending us one that's blank? Is my question.
Yes. You don't have to
Oh,
write
okay.
out. You don't have to do anything. It's a sample so you can see it and have it so that when you sit down and do your own, if you get stuck on one and you're like, what does that mean? You can look at the sample and say, oh, now I get it. I read that one and it makes sense. Now I can do mine.
Sure.
Okay.
I
And-
just wanted to clarify that you said you were sending out a blank one for us.
Yes. I will send
Okay.
out the blank one, and I'll send out the resentments list that we saw on the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
like I said, we're not doing it technically yet, but I did want to get it out there.
Sure. We're really just kind of brewing in our grudge list right now.
Yeah.
At least that's what I thought I heard.
Yes, just make that soup of grudges, and get it going, and we'll take a look at the whole thing. And sometimes, as you go along, you find new stuff, or you find stuff you had no idea that was really bothering you.
Well, I've had a lot. I have maybe 5 resentments to do this time. I have done several other 4th and 5th steps through her.
Okay.
So, but they're still there. There's still some things that I really need to take a look at. So, that's why I'm here.
It's possible because as we do these, the recommendation is 10 to 20, because by the time you get to the 10th one, you're going to see that there's a pattern that's happening.
The pattern of my thinking.
Yes. And you're going to not have to put it all down on paper, because once you grasp what's really going on, you can resolve it much quicker.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anyone else have any questions? Comments?
You know, I would just say if anybody's new at doing this, when I first did it, I thought, well, where is this going to go? You know, okay, I've listed all this. My brother stole my brother, and that was a big resentment. And then you get to this point where you can pray for them. And that was like the skies opened up moment, because the resentment kind of eased. And so if you're new at this, it does go somewhere where you get relief. And I didn't see that when I first started. And I got to the point where he was still doing what he was doing, but it didn't bother me that much, because I realized he was good. He was him. And it's all about our reaction to them. They're not going to change. You know, it's just our reaction to them, and that can change. And that was like an amazing moment, worth millions of dollars in therapy.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so quick. You know, you spend years in therapy, and what this fourth step's going to do for you in about 3 weeks. Not even full-time 3 weeks, just 3 weeks of classes.
Right.
Go ahead, Carol.
Well, I just wanted to share something that really helped me, and I just heard it recently, and that is Freud said there are little kings and queens in all of us.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah, it really helped me, so I thought I'd share that.
I like that a lot.
It's great.
Yeah, and we'll be uncovering all of the muck that hides us under that, because that's why we use because we don't feel good, and we don't feel good because we resent things, and we're going to clear all that out. So it like Rochelle said, it can be a little daunting to look at this and be like, what am I doing this for? There is a whole process here. We're only at the fourth step, and the fourth step leads to the fifth, and the fifth to the sixth. It all goes in succession. So as we finish up for the fourth step, then we're going to go into the fifth step, which is it's still kind of like the fourth step, but there is a method to this madness, and there is a direction, and there is an outcome. And the outcome is a spiritual awakening.
Yeah.
So that is the goal. All righty. Anybody else? All right. So if you get to a point where you need to ask questions, shoot me an email or send me a text or whatever, and I'll try to answer you guys if I can. If not, just bring the question to class, because people in the class probably have the same question. It seems to go that way. So just shoot me a question, and I'll get you an answer, hopefully. All right, so the serenity prayer. God, please grant me the serenity
To accept
the things
I cannot change,
the
the courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference.
Keep coming back. I can't not say that anymore.
Thanks so much, Lisa. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Lisa.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See
Stay
you next
well.
week. Enjoy your grunge lists. I can't even say that. Lists. It's late here on the East Coast.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, Joel.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
All right.